gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 13th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by Lifewallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt Shodell, I am just beside myself this morning. I don't know what's going on in the world, okay? Texas A&M is playing Miami this weekend. Jimbo Fisher has a press conference, and I'm not sure Miami was even mentioned more than twice in the entire session. Like, the whole thing is about all these problems that they supposedly have up there. Nobody cares that they're playing Miami. Nobody's worried about this phenomenal smash mouth running game that the Canes are bringing to College Station this weekend, that was proven against Southern Miss, that saved the day when the passing game went astray. And then the comments on YouTube yesterday, your fan club is out of control.
They're not my fan club. They're the exact opposite of my fan club, but okay.
Well, I mean, they're just so engaged that, like, even when you, like, spew complete, utter nonsense like you did yesterday, they, like, line up to kiss the ring, to cheer their Messiah. You know, I don't get it. Like,
nobody should be following the Pied Piper Shodell anywhere, but I don't think some people really understood where I was coming from. I'll try to just briefly explain it, and this is it.
Not again.
I'm not going to re-explain it.
No,
but the problem was they kept interrupting me, and I really couldn't get a point across sometimes.
Oh, my God.
Do you want me to explain it in 5 sentences or not? Because it's pretty simple.
Go ahead.
This is what I was trying to say that I think people misinterpreted. Okay. Miami won the game by running the ball. That's great. They found a way to win the game. There's nothing wrong with that. What I was trying to express was I wanted them to be able to win the game showing multiplicity on offense, not by having to be one-dimensional, just because you know they're going to have the level of talent amped up in the future. That's it. That's my 5 sentences. I'm done.
Right. Well, you get pink flamingos.
Yeah, great.
For this one. You did.
Well, you know what? Look, my fan club's going to really hate me now.
Oh, no, not the Gators.
You got the pink flamingos, and I got the crocodile. It's not an alligator. It's a crocodile. Watch tennis, and you'll know what it is, because everyone wears Lacoste shirts.
All right. Dude, like, listen, here's my question. Okay, I'm going to try to keep a calm head here. What makes the passing game in football better than the running game? You know, I think back to the glory years of the Miami Dolphins, where they pounded Zonka, Morris, and Kick. I think back to the glory years of the Pittsburgh Steelers with Franco Harris. You know, what's wrong with a football team that can get physical and run the football? What is wrong with beating Southern Miss, pounding the rock in the second half, when your passing game was a total mess? And by the way, one of the stories that we have on the website today is Josh Gaddis talking a little bit about that. But the whole thing went astray. I mean, the offensive linemen were having mentals trying to pass block. Tyler Van Dyke was having a hard time reading these bizarre coverages that they didn't plan for, because Southern Miss very astutely threw a whole package of stuff at them that they had not done before. So Miami had not practiced against it, and they were a little confused. And, you know, Tyler was a little slow in his progressions. The ball was getting out late. Sometimes it was going into the dirt because he was not in a rhythm. He was uncomfortable, a lot going through his mind. Southern Miss did a good job. Why are we unable to applaud Southern Miss and their coaches, say, hey, you came to Miami, you gave it your best shot, we found a different way to beat you, and we won by 23 points? What's wrong with that?
It's a simple answer, which is I'm smarter than you, because I'm not looking at one game. All you want to do, Gary, you want to win one game. And if it takes being Larry Zonka, you'll do it. Great. I'm trying to look big picture, okay? I'm looking at the rest of the season. I'm looking at what I think what I think the strength of this team will be and is. I'm looking at recruiting. I'm looking at the big picture, not one game. I understand fans say they made an adjustment. They ran the ball because they knew they could run it and win it that way. Why wouldn't you do it? Of course, you got to win the game. My perspective is I was disappointed that they had to do that they couldn't be multifaceted on offense, because I personally believe that this offense, and by the way, Gary, you said the offensive line was a disaster pass blocking. Well, guess what? If you believe in Pro Football Focus, 4 of the 5 linemen graded out better as pass protectors. But anyway, I personally believe
the world has gone crazy.
I personally believe this is a better team when Tyler Van Dyke is passing the ball and you're mixing in the run. I'm not saying to be a pass-first offense, but I'm saying you got to be better than 70-30 run-pass ratio to beat really good teams. And I want Miami to be able to beat really good teams. And I want receiver recruits out there like Hakeem Williams, who no longer seems remotely interested in this offense. I want receiver recruits out there to say, wow, I want to be part of that. And not because the 2 smallest guys that get passes within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage are the 2 leading receivers in the last game, but because they're taking shots down the field and completing them and not having to do flea flickers to trick a defense. Like, these receivers are good enough. The quarterback we already know is elite. And the fact that against Southern Miss, there was a disconnect. And guess what? I mean, it blew my mind yesterday when Josh Gaddis said, we didn't make any adjustments. I just told him to calm down, and then we went out and just ran the ball. I mean, that was his adjustment. So I'm almost speechless because I know Josh Gaddis and Mario Cristobal want to run the ball first. I get it. I just don't think that this offense, and we've seen it for years where they think the offensive line is better than it is. I don't know yet if this offensive line is better than I think it is. I'm concerned that it's not. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they did something wrong. They won the game. I'm not saying they did something wrong. They wanted to win the game. They ran the ball because they knew they'd win the game that way, and they did.
The world's turned upside down.
That's what you should do. I'm talking big picture. I wanted to see it a little bit different. That's all.
The world's turned upside down. We're sitting there all through training camp and, observing that they're pass blocking well and their running blocking was not going so great against Miami's defensive line. True. And now here they get into the season and they're winning game 2.
Gary, they played Bethune and Southern Miss. I don't understand fans.
I understand.
By the way, fans on the board think Southern Miss is this juggernaut. They don't have a starter who would be a second-team player at Miami. And Bethune-Cookman shouldn't even have been on the schedule. Like, I don't understand why fans are coming at me, blaming me like I'm a crazy person for saying I'd like to see them practice being a really good, well-rounded offense against the first 2 opponents, which apparently they couldn't do in game 2. So excuse me for telling the truth.
I still say it's a huge question whether they have the personnel to be the kind of offense you want them to have.
But they have to try. They have to. And if you're not going to do it against Southern Miss, when are you going to do it and have confidence in doing it? You think that? You think they built any confidence in the passing game right now off Southern Miss? Do you think they're going into Texas A&M feeling really good about themselves as a passing offense, going into probably the biggest game of the year because you want to start 3-0 against a team that just lost to App State? Like, I know fans don't want to.
How did App State beat them, Matt? How did App State beat?
App State beat them because App State was able to run the ball and control the clock completely. It was a great game plan.
100%.
And if you think Miami's going to go in and do the exact same game plan and win exactly the same way, you can smoke whatever's in your wife's room because that's crazy talk.
I'm kind of torn on that because teams are what they are. I mean, they're going to work on all their problems and everything, and they're going to try to get better with their run defense, and they probably will be better on Saturday. But at the same time, I mean, the secondary is the strength of their defense. I mean, their defensive line is a strength for them. So do I necessarily think Miami's going to win if their defensive linemen are teeing off on Van Dyke and Miami's receivers, which, with all respects to the people out there pounding their chest over 1 or 2 catches by, Michael Redding and a flea flicker catch by Keyshawn Smith, the Miami receiver room has not proven a thing yet. Okay. And I want them to, trust me, love them all. Great kids. I want to see them succeed, but they have not proven a thing yet this season other than Restrepo. And he's got to keep proving it now because the level of competition is going to go up. And I think they are going to need to be able to run the ball again on Saturday night. You're going on the road into a hostile stadium.
Of course.
You better be able to run the football.
Yeah, I was
Appalachian State.
not saying to abandon the run. Listen,
They won't. Don't worry. Regardless of what you say, they're not abandoning it.
You can't. You have to be balanced. But I also don't want them to go into a shell in a close game and just think that they could just keep it even with this defense, which we quite frankly know is fairly average, maybe a little above average in the ACC. But somebody once told me that the difference between the number 1 ranked tennis player and the number 50 ranked tennis player in the world is 1% mental, like that extra 1%. And you hear Tyreek Stevenson tell us in his weekly blog and all these other guys, 1%, that's their thing. Get better 1% every day. But they say in tennis, like that's all that separates you, having that 1% more mental sharpness every moment versus the other guy. You're at 100%, they're at 99%. And so when people keep bringing up App State, just do the same thing App State did. If you think Texas A&M went into that App State game excited to play App State and raring to go and couldn't wait to play App State, I mean, then you're thinking the same thing about Miami versus Southern Miss, because both these teams went in thinking it was going to be a cakewalk and let's just stay healthy. Let's just easily win this game, go party Saturday night, get back to work and have a great game the following weekend. And both teams were in a dogfight at halftime. One of them couldn't get out of the dogfight, and the other one did. And that's mental toughness. Miami had the mental toughness, which is great to see. Texas A&M did not have the mental toughness, but this is the game they really were focused on. And to say, you can just come in and do the same thing as App State, to me is absurd, especially when if you asked people at Texas A&M a week ago what the strength of their defense was, I personally thought it was the secondary, but a lot of them were saying it's our defensive line. Even though they lost all their starters, they feel like that defensive line is unbelievable. So listen, they're going to find they've been saving stuff from Miami. They weren't saving anything for App State. And, Miami's been saving stuff for them. I'm very excited for the game Saturday, but I hope, like I said yesterday, I hope Miami's not just planning to use the App State game plan and whatever they came up with the last 9 months. I hope that's what they're going to use and surprise A&M. Like I said yesterday, I'm tired of hearing, players say after a game, we weren't expecting that. Oh, they'd never used that before. Oh, we thought they were going to use the super back offense with Frank Gore at running back, at quarterback. We never saw this coming. Why can't Miami do that to somebody else and put them on their heels, right? And this is the staff that should and can do it. And we're going to find out against Texas A&M if that happens. It wouldn't shock me if Miami jumps out to a 21-0 lead if they come up with stuff that they haven't used in a long time that works against that particular scheme, because they know what Jimbo Fisher does on offense. There's no secret there. I mean, even, they weren't even shy about telling us, look, we looked at his Florida State film. They told us yesterday, we looked at his Florida State film. He's doing the same stuff at Texas A&M, he did at Florida State. So they basically told the world yesterday, Jimbo, we know what you're going to run against us. So come up with some innovative ways to beat that. And on the other side of the ball, they have to find ways to beat that too. But I would love to see, and you can tell on the first couple of drives that, hey, they were not expecting what we just did. Like against Miami's old defenses, when those horrible teams would come in and just throw those swing passes to the sidelines like 4 times out of the first 7 series. Remember that, Gary? And they pick up 10 yards every time. And Miami wouldn't adjust for a couple of series. You remember those? You remember those teams that came in a few years ago and were doing that?
I do.
Yeah. So, not that they should do that, but find something that you can see on tape that they can exploit for those first couple of series, get them on their heels, and you go from there. That's what you got to do in games like this. And that's on the coaches. And we're going to find out very quickly what this team's about and what these coaches are about on Saturday/Sunday. Early morning.
All right, so I'm looking for clues, okay? Because I know that they're not going to go in there looking to freewheel. I don't think throwing the ball out of the gate, and
let me ask you something, Gary. If you think Texas A&M thinks that you're going to run the ball a lot and they're stacking the box, you would still just run against the stacked box.
Well, if they stack the box, then they're going
to. You don't think that's what they're going to do after what App State did? That's exactly what that's what they're going to do on defense, and that's why I think you got to surprise them. You got to take your shots. What do you have to lose? A game.
No, if they're stacking the box, you got
national respect. That's all you got to lose.
No, if they are stacking the box, you got to spread the field and throw the ball. I agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of torn by all the things I'm seeing. I mean, I'm seeing a complete, utter lack of respect for the Miami Hurricanes. And, maybe that was earned by struggling against Southern Miss. But if I'm Miami, I'm going up there with a chip on my shoulder the size of a boulder, man.
I don't understand that either. What has Miami done in the last 20 years that they deserve respect? You got to earn respect. It's not given to you. They've done nothing to earn respect yet.
You're right.
They should have a chip on their shoulder, and the chip should be, we need to prove stuff to people because we've done nothing to have any respect given to us. It's shocking they're only a 6-point underdog. I mean, they haven't won big games since they won Notre Dame was the only big game they've won in 10 years that I can remember.
The money's flying in on Miami, Matt. The line went to 5 yesterday.
Good.
I don't know if it'll stay there or keep going down. I don't know where it'll end up, but
that's more a sign of disrespect for A&M, by the way. But okay.
No, I'm not talking about the bettors. I'm talking about just in general. I mean, it's like it just seemed like Jimbo Fisher's just yawning at the fact that Miami's come in and they're just talking about what went astray for them. And I guess you do have to fix your own problems first.
Yeah, you can't point to that because think about it at Miami, right? If Miami was expected to compete for a national title and they lose to an App State, let's say, would people be asking about the next game, even if that game was against Florida State? Would people be saying, "Oh, how are you going to attack Florida State? Oh, what do you think about Florida State's offense?" No, I mean,
but that was so flawed. I mean, it was so flawed. They were never competing for any national title.
No, but that was the expectation of fans.
Soft, man. Texas kids are typically soft, and that's how they lose.
Did you say Texas kids are soft?
In relation to Florida kids, 100%. There's no doubt about it. And
Corey Flagg might beg to disagree, and a few other players, but okay.
You think? I mean, I like Corey Flagg, but I mean, he's not going to make me forget about Lakeland, Florida's Ray Lewis anytime soon, or Coral Spring, Florida's Dan Morgan anytime soon, or Coral Gables, Florida's John Vilma anytime soon, or Miami's John Beeson anytime soon. Shall I keep going on and on? Or Darren Smith from Miami Norland.
I'm just curious.
From Miami Norland, or I could go on and on. All the great linebackers that have played for Miami, most of them have been from Florida. DJ Williams came from California, but most of them have been from Florida.
Well, I'm just curious. So I just want to be clear. So 49 states are soft, right? 49 states have only soft players. I just want to be clear on what you're saying. That's what you're saying, right?
No,
I just want to make sure.
I am saying that it is very hard to build a team entirely of kids from Texas. Now, I know Texas has done it on occasion. I know Texas almost beat Alabama the other day. I understand that there are some aberrations to what I'm saying. But in general, just from what I've heard from football people through the years, is that Texas football doesn't breed the same degree of toughness as like Florida football does. And when we're seeing a lot of Georgia football too, that's shaping up pretty good these days. But all right. So anyway, so I get it. Matt Shodell wants to flash and dash. He wants to see every victory by way of the passing game. He wants the style points. I want wins. Okay. I want wins. I don't care how they come. I don't care if they come running the ball. I don't care if they come passing the ball. I will agree with Matt. You've got to be able to do both. Okay. As you go through a 12-game season, you're going to have to win games both ways.
Well, Gary, here's my question. This is what I don't understand why fans are all agitated. If you have to do both, which I think fans would agree, right? You have to do both to beat good teams. If you're playing two teams that are basically set up to be quote unquote scrimmages that you're expected to win very, very easily, aren't those your two opportunities to work on doing both, not just one? Or am I crazy? Like, that's all I was trying to say.
You do realize Tyler Van Dyke did throw for 253 yards the other day, right?
I do. And I do realize that he graded out at 56% for a reason. And I do realize that they gave up on him when they needed to win the game.
Had a horrible game. He was totally disappointed in himself after the game, and he had 253 yards.
Yeah.
So that's not like, it's not like the passing game was.
So what's your point?
Is missing in action. It just wasn't the emphasis in the second half, because when it was the emphasis in the first half, they were having enough problems that it was keeping Southern Miss in the game.
Yeah, when they needed to win, they needed to win, they said, we're just going to run the ball. I mean, that's what they said, and that's what they did, and it worked. So, again, I have no problem with that. I'm an extremely smart individual, Gary. I think everyone would agree. All 96 posters who said I'm a moron would definitely agree that I'm a genius. I
Well,
want to see the big picture, man. I want to see them do it all. That's just Matt Shodell.
all right, so they run the ball 12 times in the first half and 35 times in the second half. Okay, I will meet you in the middle on this, Matt. I will meet you.
3 of those passes were by Jake Garcia in the final drive, by the way.
That was only a few.
They were 9 times.
I understand, but I'm just saying, like, I will meet you in the middle, and I will say maybe it doesn't need to go to that extreme. Maybe it can't go to that extreme as the degree of difficulty gets elevated beginning Saturday at College Station. I will totally agree with you on that. But I've always been a big believer, and I know someone that's going to laugh right now, my man Jay Collette on the message boards, because he always loves to make fun of me by using this saying. I do use it a lot. But every game stands on its own 2 feet, and it really, really does. I mean, there's different matchups, there's different strengths and weaknesses, and there's things that might work against Southern Miss that aren't going to work against Texas A&M, because Texas A&M is going to be better in certain areas than Southern Miss. So yes, a really good team is capable of doing everything. Listen, the Miami Hurricanes right now just might not be there, Matt.
I mean, there is some mystery to it. I sort of equate it to, I was walking down my street the other day and I saw one of those yard signs. You know how the politicians give out the signs to put in your yard, and it was a Ron DeSantis yard sign. And I'm just curious, for those of you out there, and you could post about it if you want, but I don't know why. When you put that sign in your yard for whoever you want as your politician of choice, I really don't care. But when you put that in your yard, are you thinking that's helping the person get votes, or are you more just trying to annoy your neighbors? I'm very confused why people put those signs in their yard, because when I see one, it almost, regardless of who I think should be the governor or the president, whatever, when I see one of those, I just almost want to vote for the other person, because it's just so annoying. Like, why are you so special that you get to put a Ron DeSantis sign in your yard? I'm not going to put a sign in my yard because I'm not obnoxious trying to tell people, hey, you should vote for the same guy I voted for because I know what I'm doing. Like, I don't get it. And so when it comes to, as it relates to football now, like, there's 2 sides to every coin. And this is what I'm saying. Like, you can say, yeah, they ran the ball and that's why they won. So you can put that yard sign up, go ahead and put it up, like, run the ball, put that, in your front yard, but put the balanced offense sign in my yard, man, because that's who I'm voting for. Like, that's my vote. And you can 96 people can disagree with their messages, but, like, that's my vote. And I'm sorry that your vote is run the ball 19 out of 25 plays to win the game. But, this is just how I feel about it. And it's got nothing against running, like Gary said, the old school running, winning games, great. I just don't think they can do that against great teams that they're going to play moving forward. And I would like to see them practice winning with my yard sign.
All right. All right. We are going to talk about more of the news of the day. We got a lot for it to cover real quick for you. But first, let's hear from our friends at Lifewallet.
We here at Lifewallet take security very seriously. Our data security team is working constantly to make sure that your data is not accessed by anybody who you don't authorize.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
I have from CC, and he's thinking about it, and I'll be talking to CC. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We use leading technology standards like biometric data to make sure that only you have access to your data and your identity is protected. Lifewallet gives you access to your entire medical history and information at the touch of your finger, so that it can save you time and can save your life.
Data transfer complete.
Hey, and by the way, before we get off on our numerous yard sign tangents that'll be up ahead, I find it curious that we in the media have availabilities every week, and they're fairly regular during the season. On Monday, there's no practice, so we get Mario and we get the 2 coordinators. Tuesday, we watch, a half-hour practice, and then after practice, we hang out and have a big party and try to sneak up on the top of the buildings and watch practice illegally and go in the parking garage and all that fun stuff and get arrested. And after all that shenanigans, we go and we interview players afterwards. But this week, now that there's a real game, we're on Zoom today. So we can't go watch practice. We can't go in person and be anywhere near the building. We can't sneak up to the top of the athletics, of the IPF and with our binoculars and try to steal information. By the way, I'll give a shout out to Omar Calley. Okay, Omar and I go back a long ways, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this know who he is. I covered the Dolphins for a long time, but he covered the Hurricanes when I was a young lad. We covered it together, and we had a good time. We played racquetball every Thursday and whatever. And I swear, I'm not a rule breaker, okay? You tell me to do something, and I'll do it, you know? Gary will tell you that because he gives me some horrible assignments to do. but Omar Calley...
I used to think that I'm not a rule breaker either, but it seems like everything I do these days...
As reporters, we're supposed to bend the rules, not break them. But Omar, and you won't mind me saying this because every reporter knows it. So there didn't used to be an IPF, and they used to practice on Green Tree, which was the entire length of the field. And Omar discovered through some twist of fate, probably going to the bathroom over in the tennis center, that if you sat in the very upper corner seat of the tennis center, okay, which is adjacent to what is now the IPF, you could watch about 3/4 of the football practice with your binoculars. And practice was closed in those days. And he would just sit up there happily for an hour and a half, watching practice with his binoculars. And then he'd come down and pretend like he'd done nothing. And then somehow he'd always have the scoops. You know, so-and-so looks amazing in practice. So-and-so got hurt. So-and-so this, so-and-so that, you know. But yeah, we don't break the rules. But I find it interesting that they did shut down all access on Texas A&M week. I hope they're not getting tight over there in the coaches' offices and starting worrying about the media because they got bigger things to worry about than the media.
The media giving the players
that are watching the practices with binoculars. Omar Calley doesn't cover the team anymore, Mario. You can let us out there, bro.
They want to keep the reporters away, make sure that the reporters don't give anybody COVID this week. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the news of the day, and we've got a lot of stuff on the website today. Let's start with Tyreek Stevenson's blog. It was so cool hearing Tyreek kind of recreate that interception from the Southern Miss game, and so the true story, because it looked like, I honestly, when I was watching it live, said, "Oh my God, he's playing possum!" Like he was pretending that the play was over. The play was never over. Like nobody touched him, nobody tackled him. He absolutely should have been able to run down the field for a touchdown. But he was so good that the referee thought that he was giving himself up, even though he wasn't giving himself up. And the referee actually did blow his whistle. So the referee blows his whistle, the play is dead. So the fact that he went and scored a touchdown is a totally moot point. The play was dead. But
when I heard him say that the referee blew the whistle, I initially thought he was lying. I'm like, I
agree.
No, but
I agree.
But the reason why I think he's actually telling the truth, and listen, if I was him and that happened, I would lie all day long about it because it was so embarrassing if he just stood there and did nothing. But the reason why I don't think he would lie. He's a truth teller. But B, the reason why I pretty much know he's not lying is if you watch, there was a Southern Miss defender who was really right next to Tyreek when he was sort of walking out of the end zone. And you could see the defender had also obviously heard the whistle because he just sort of swiped at the ball, but not for real, like almost like ha, ha, ha.
Like playfully swiped at it.
Yeah. And then Tyreek started running after that when all the other players who hadn't heard the whistle were like, run, run. So then he ran because they told him to. But you could tell, obviously, in that small corner, he lightly blew his whistle, the referee. It was a gentle whisper of a breeze of a whistle, and only the three players in the immediate vicinity heard it, apparently. But you can tell he blew the whistle just watching that defender and what the defender did, because otherwise the defender's grabbing that ball, you know? Well, actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't the defender, the offensive player. I call it a defender because Tyreek already had the ball, but it was an offensive player. And if that whistle hadn't blown, he could have just grabbed the ball and it would have been a touchdown, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got the Tyreek Stevenson blog for this week, and Tyreek's having a nice season. He looked good as a punt returner also in the game, and just a really nice kid who's having a lot of fun out there. So make sure you check out Tyreek Stevenson's blog. We also give you an analysis of our viewpoint on a roadmap for how the Canes can defeat Texas A&M this weekend. by running the ball. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we take a look at that.
When you guys read it, try to figure out who wrote it after you read it. I'm curious if you guys think that Gary wrote it first and I edited it, or I wrote it first and then Gary edited it. I'm curious. Post your comments on who you think wrote that one.
We take a look at the Hurricanes in the NFL at the Week 1 highlights. We have
not many of those, by the way, a few, but
we have a recap of Mario Cristobal's media availabilities from yesterday. Mario typically goes on his Monday media tour, and we've got recaps of that. Let's see, we have a recap of Texas A&M and their Monday media availabilities, where they talk about all the different fixes that they're trying to come up with before Miami gets to town. Kevin Steele met with us yesterday, and Kevin Steele, Matt, is so awesome, man. I really enjoy every time we get a chance to talk to him, because he has such a unique way of expressing things. And you guys, that when you read the Kevin Steele stories, make sure you watch the videos that accompany them, because he's fun. Like, you'll see, he's a good dude, and he's fun. And he's got a challenge this week, Matt, because they only ran 38 plays the other night, Texas A&M, and game 1 they played Sam Houston State. So Kevin Steele does not have a lot of real tape. This is a whole new A&M team. This is all new personnel in a lot of places and stuff. They don't have a lot of tape to properly prepare for this game. I really don't feel like they do. I hope it's not a factor on Saturday. I know he feels like Jimbo Fisher is going to run Jimbo Fisher's offense. That's the same offense that he's run for 10, 15 years at Florida State, at LSU, etc. And I know Kevin feels that way. But what if it's not? Like, what if Jimbo throws wrinkles in there? You don't really have a good read on their personnel, because they only had 35 plays in the game the other day. And you got to kind of like throw out the film from the first week. And I don't know, man. I mean, it could, I don't want to be a worry here, but I could see this being a subplot and a factor on Saturday.
If Texas A&M watches Miami's tape, it's what they're going to do. I mean, Jimbo Fisher's scheme is scheme. Jimbo Fisher's going to run his scheme, but at the end of the day, they're going to probably try to attack any cornerback not named Tyreek Stevenson. I mean, that's what I would do. I'm talking about this is obviously when Texas A&M has the ball. So I don't know that there's anything Kevin Steele can do to disguise that, other than dial up a lot of quarterback pressure. Texas A&M has 2 really, really good receivers. One of them is true freshman. You can't double team them both, and you can put Tyreek, maybe, Tyreek's only issue is he's really good, but he's not real good against really, really fast receivers. So I think, who is it? One of their receivers, runs a 4.1, or I don't know. One of their receivers is super fast. Yeah. So I'm guessing that's going to be the problem that Kevin Steele has, and he's got to figure out this week, or has figured out previously, how they're going to deal with that. Because Tyreek should be able to hopefully lock down one-on-one on the other side. Hopefully,
they better be real physical with that kid and not let him. Yeah. Get to full speed real quick.
Yeah, but to me, I think the front seven will hold up. I really do. You watch what App State did. I mean, Miami's strength now, which I never thought I would have said before the season, or really before fall camp, I should say, is run defense. Especially if Akeem Messidor is back. That's basically a defensive tackle size defensive end who can run like a defensive end. I mean, if he could play 50 or 60 snaps. If he's fully healthy, and I think they really just saved him as a precaution to make sure he's fully healthy. That's huge. That's huge. And they have enough defensive tackles to rotate in that they're pretty good there. I think Darrell Jackson's really playing really well, even though people don't mention him. And then at the other defensive end side, you got a couple of guys who are fine. So I really do. And the linebackers are a question mark. I get it. But if the defensive line's good enough, the linebackers will just fill in the gaps. So I do think that the issue for Miami is going to be the secondary, which is good because Texas A&M seems like they really are struggling passing the ball. There's some talk that Texas A&M is going to change quarterbacks. Maybe they'll play 2 quarterbacks in the game. The backup quarterback, I think, is Mark Richt's nephew, so that would be kind of interesting.
I think he might start.
Max Johnson. It wouldn't shock me. I don't see how you start the same guy again. I mean, you got to do something different, man. He was so bad. I'd be shocked. Jimbo's not going to tell you anything. Jimbo wouldn't even release a depth chart for the first game against Sam Houston. I mean, he literally did not give anyone a depth chart. He just said, you can see who we play. There's no real depth chart anyway. That's what he sold to the reporters up there. So to think he's going to actually tell Miami, here's our starting quarterback. I mean, if he says it, that's who's not starting. If he announces, yeah, we're sticking with the same guy at quarterback, that's who's definitely not starting. Okay.
How about if I tell you that Miami's going head to head in recruiting with Texas A&M, probably even more so than like Florida State these days.
James Calley, he's trying to use those Miami ties to bring a lot of guys up there, and they pick 3 or 4 out of the area every year. It seems like that they wind up getting.
They pay my man Calley a lot of money up there to.
I saw his salary. You know what his salary is? It's public record.
It's over $1 million.
Oh, really? I saw 450. That's funny.
Oh God, no, he's making.
Well, that was the public record. I guess he gets. You know what it is? It's the bags of cash they hand him.
Yeah, I don't know how they pay him up there, but he's making over $1 million as a receivers coach.
Yeah, when you type it in, it says his salary in 2021 was $425, which can't be right. Yeah, no, that can't be right.
No, it can't be right.
Because it says in 2020 at Georgia it was $955. So,
all right. So we also have a recap of Josh Gaddis's conversation with us this week on the offense. You guys should check that out.
You know what? I take it back, Gary. It is $450, but he's getting paid $1 million by Georgia.
No, but he's getting. I don't know all the details.
I know. I'm reading an article that says James Calley's annual salary as Texas A&M's tight ends coach is $450,000 annually.
That was last year.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened. Did it change?
Yeah, that was last year.
Oh, here it is. It went to 850. It went to 850 this year. Yeah.
850 plus bonuses and plus. Yeah. No, that makes sense because he was getting paid by Georgia. They didn't have to pay him as much themselves, but now they do. All right, so we've also got some recruiting stories on the website today. 5-star offensive tackle Samson Okinola. He's talking to Mario Cristobal a lot. Obviously, is a huge priority. And
I've done a lot of interviews, and this was one of the few ones where we just laughed about how he didn't want to say anything. I literally at one point said to him, I said, where do you get that from? That you just, you really prefer to just say, I'm not going to say anything. He says it's from his brother. His brother told him to do that. His brother's in college, so his brother's basically been coached by SIDs already. Never say anything, And so I said to Samson, I'm like, when I said I'm not going to ask you a lot of repetitive questions. I said, but when somebody asks you a question that you don't want to answer, what do you say to them? And he says, I'll just tell them to rephrase it, or I'll tell them I'm not answering it. It was actually pretty funny. I didn't use a lot of it because I don't think fans really care to hear how much he enjoys not answering questions. But you guys can read the interview. I had fun writing it, and I had fun talking to him. Believe it or not, I think he's a very funny individual, and I think he'll be a Hurricane. But he's certainly not saying that.
And he's certainly taking an awful long time to do it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We also have an update on a big-time basketball recruit that passed through this past weekend. Marco Jackson, one of the top combo guards in the country. Not really saying a whole heck of a lot, but I think the visit went pretty well, and I think Miami is right there in it with Marco, and so we've got a little update on that. We have a whole wave of content coming at you midday today. We'll be talking to Tyler Van Dyke, among other guys, and we also have an update coming today on Hakeem Williams, and that's a really, really interesting story because he's a South Florida recruit. Very important. We've talked for years. Miami's got to keep these guys home. Well, even Mario Cristobal, the supreme recruiter, is finding out that keeping these young kids home, these Florida kids home, is not the easiest chore in the world. And Hakeem Williams is one that is giving Miami fits. Okay, he's engaged with Texas A&M. Florida State thinks they're getting them, and he went to Pittsburgh this past weekend, which also is very much in the equation. And then there's Miami that's also in his top 4 or whatever. So the angle of the story is that this game, Hakeem Williams is flying to College Station to see this game on Saturday. And this might be Miami's last chance to get in his head. Seriously. Like, Miami needs to have a big performance up there on Saturday that gets all these thoughts of going away from home for college out of Hakeem Williams' head, because they're in there right now. They are well seated. I don't know if you blame the coaches recruiting him. He just dying to get away from home. Maybe, I don't know all the ins and outs of his upbringing, his life, whatever. But I will tell you this is a kid that right now is thinking that he wants to get away from home to go to college. And Saturday night at 9:00 Eastern time, 8:00 Central time, might just be Miami's last chance to get in his head and say, Hakeem, home is where it's at. So we'll see how that goes. So that's going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport for today. We thank you, as always, for starting out your day with us. It means a lot to us. Hit your like button, hit your subscribe button. Help us out with YouTube. If you are not yet
and do not give us 96 comments again, or 97 comments or whatever it was, okay?
People can comment on whatever they want.
No more comments.
Whether you like them or not, okay? Jesus. And listen, more than anything, please, if you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please become one. That's extremely important to us as well. Obviously, your subscriptions are what allow us to run our entire operation.
And by the way, I was joking. You guys can comment as long as it's only positive things about. Only positive things about Gary. Only positive for Gary. Gary loves that. Don't mention me. I already know what you all think about me.
People come up with more excuses to attack me on some of these different message boards around the internet and stuff. It is unbelievable.
I really want to just come up with some different handles and just write crazy stuff about you. Well, I haven't had time. Mario's kept me too busy. When I have time, I'm going to do that. I can't wait.
I was getting, forget the fact that they assault me because they think I screwed up the John Gruden to Miami story, however many years ago or whatever, which I did not screw up, by the way. Miami did.
You'll never convince people of the truth, Gary. I'm sorry.
Well, I know, but
it's the Tyreek referee whistle of your life. I'm sorry.
I know. Listen, I get it. But I was getting ripped the other day because my God, my brain just went haywire. But it was because when Yahoo Sports put out the Nevin Shapiro story with Charles Robinson, I did a chat with Charles Robinson so that he could explain himself this story to the Miami fan base, because everybody was obviously outraged at the story. And I put on my journalist hat. I said, this, we need to get this explained to everybody. Well, there's people out there that are mad at me for that, and it's like, what are you going to do, man? But anyway, you guys comment on whatever you want. We don't care. Good, bad, indifferent. We want to hear from you guys. But as I was saying, so if you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, we cut a deal with On3 when we made the move there. Part of the deal was give everybody a $1 subscription for the first year. Make it easy for them to come over. We want to unite the fan base on our site and our community. It's been going very, very well so far. We want to keep the momentum going. So please, if you're not a subscriber yet, come at least spend a year with us. I think you'll like it. I think you'll enjoy being on our site. We have an incredible amount of coverage pretty much every day, and we just want to enhance your experience as a fan of the Miami Hurricanes. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you for joining us once again. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.